Let's talk about one of the biggest, most frustrating mysteries in any workplace. Why do your absolute best people, the ones you can't afford to lose, suddenly quit? Well, it turns out the answer isn't just about feelings or exit interviews. It's about some simple, kind of hidden math that most of us are completely missing.
You know the feeling, right? It's the one that keeps managers up at night. Everything seems to be going great, performance is through the roof, and then bam! A 2-week notice lands on your desk, and it feels like it came out of nowhere. You're left sitting there thinking, what on earth did I miss? The thing is, you were probably asking all the wrong questions. For the longest time, companies have tried to guess who might leave by measuring something called intentions of quitting. Basically, they just ask people how they feel about their job. But as we're about to see, that's kind of like trying to predict a hurricane by just looking at the sky right above your head. You're missing the bigger picture.
And just look at the difference here. The old way is all subjective, it's about feelings. But this new model is totally different. It doesn't ask, it calculates. It shifts our whole perspective from who might leave to the actual mathematical likelihood of them leaving. Why? Because it includes a huge piece of the puzzle that the old way just completely ignores.
And this is the absolute core of the idea. We all tend to think of someone quitting as this simple two-way street between an employee and their boss or company. But this model says, nope, you're wrong. There's actually a third, really powerful, and often totally invisible player at the table that's influencing every single decision.
So, who are these three players? Let's pull back the curtain and unmask them, because you have to understand each one before we can get to the surprisingly simple math that connects them all.
And here it is. This is the original diagram from the research. Now I know it looks a little academic, right? But the idea behind it is so powerful. You can see the employee is right there in the middle, getting pulled from below by their organization and from above by something the researchers gave a very specific name: social affiliations.
Okay, so player number one, the employer, which the model calls E. Just think of E as everything the company gives you. And it's not just your paycheck. The paper uses this really broad term, advantages, to cover the whole shebang: salary, benefits, flexible hours, training, you name it.
Then you've got player number two, the employee, or P for person. This is you, me, any individual really. And your goal is to take all those advantages the employer provides and use them to meet your own personal needs. So far so good, right? This is the standard two-way street we all know.
But then, here's the game changer, the social affiliate, or SA. This is that third player, and it changes everything. It's the technical term for, well, an employee's entire life outside the office. We're talking family, passions, hobbies, all the responsibilities that compete for their time and their energy.
So what does that actually mean? Let's make it real. Social affiliates are all the things that make us human. It's coaching your kid's soccer team on a Tuesday. It's taking care of a sick parent. It's training for a marathon, or building a side hustle, or just having enough gas left in the tank at the end of the day to take your dog for a walk. You see, these aren't distractions from life, they are life.
Okay, so now we know the players, right? We have the employer, E, the employee, P, and that all-important social affiliate, I. Now let's see how they all fit together in a shockingly simple formula that can actually predict the probability of someone walking out the door.
This is it. That's the whole formula. The probability of leaving equals 1 minus P times I. That's it, where P is how well the job meets the employee's needs, and I is how well that same job lets them meet their outside social needs. The simplicity of this is, well, it's kind of beautiful, isn't it?
Let's walk through the exact example from the paper to see how this works. Okay, so an employee feels their job meets their personal needs pretty well. Let's say a 6 out of 10. So P is 0.6. But that same job is just awful at letting them meet their outside commitments, like being there for their family. So that gets a 2 out of 10, making I just 0.2. Now we multiply those together. 0.6 times 0.2 gives us 0.12. And for the final step, we just subtract that from 1.
And what do we get? 0.88. Now, in this model, a score close to 1 means a super high probability of leaving. So this employee, even though they're reasonably happy with the job's advantages, is actually an extremely high flight risk. They are almost out the door. And this chart just shows it all so clearly. The old way of thinking, which completely ignores life outside work, would only look at that p-value. It would calculate 1 minus 0.6 and get 0.4, a score that suggests this employee is probably gonna stay. But the new model, just by adding that I variable, completely flips the script and reveals the hidden truth. It's a huge red flag.
And you don't just have to take my word for it. Listen to the researchers themselves. They said it's the unintended effect of what's happening outside the workplace that can make an employee start thinking about leaving, even if they actually like the work itself.
So this is way more than just a cool theory, right? It has some really profound, practical meaning for how companies should think about keeping their people. And honestly, how all of us should think about our own careers.
So if you're going to remember anything, remember this. First, that I variable, your life, isn't just some vague feeling. It is a hard mathematical factor. Second, this is why just throwing more money at a problem often doesn't work. A really high P can be totally wiped out by a really low I. And that means, at the end of the day, turnover is a whole life equation, not just a work equation.
For any manager or leader out there, this should be a huge wake-up call. Instead of only focusing on bigger salaries or fancy in-office perks, the real secret weapon for retention might be in things that boost that I variable. We're talking about real flexibility, predictable hours, remote options, things that give your employees their actual lives back.
And really, this all points to a future where that one-size-fits-all benefits package is just obsolete. Think about it. The advantages that help a new parent are completely different from what helps someone caring for an elderly relative or a person training for an Iron Man. The real key is supporting an individual's whole life.
And that kind of turns the spotlight back on all of us, doesn't it? It's a really powerful question to ask yourself. Is your job an enabler for the life you want to live, or is it an obstacle? Because the math here suggests that if it's an obstacle, your time there might just be shorter than you think.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. When you think about that I variable for yourself, what is it? What's the single most important person or activity or commitment outside of your job that you need your work to support? Because the answer to that question, it might just be the real key to your own career happiness.